Good evening, everyone. Time for another silver update. We had some pretty important news today with the resignation of the Pope, and of course we've got a big metal sell-off on that. Silver's still holding fairly steady around 31, but I wanted to get to a couple of important stories, and we're going to compare and contrast them just to see the difference between poverty and prosperity. I know you're not going to take my word for it, so I'm going to just show it to you. But let's read the stories first here. This is a story out of Greece. Greeks strip country for scrap cash. Greece has been hit by an unprecedented wave of metal thefts as its recession hit people turn to crime. Train lines, bridges, cables, and even cemeteries have been targeted for scrap to feed a market driven by China and India. Notice they're blaming them for buying things. That's just silly. Police now arrest an average of 4 metal thieves every day, compared to a few cases every month before the crisis started in late 2009. The profile of the metal thief is also changing. Authorities say from gypsies and immigrants living on the margins of society to mainstream Greeks who have fallen on hard times. As European countries dip in and out of recession, global demand for metals has remained high due to the industrial rise of emerging powers, making stolen cables and metal used in infrastructure a growth market worldwide. Some 35 people have been arrested in Greece for metal theft between the start of 2010 and August 2012, according to the Public Order Ministry. The robberies are becoming both more frequent and more brazen, a sign of desperate times. Athens' 9-year-old light rail system has been a prime magnet for metal robbers, with at least 5 major disruptions reported in the past 6 months due to cable theft that forced passengers to hop on and off trains as diesel replacements were needed. The trend has had lethal consequences. In early January, the body of a 35-year-old man was found near Athens beside the tracks of a subterranean rail system that services the capital's airport. He had been electrocuted while cutting live cables. Roadside crash barriers, storm drain covers, heavy factory doors, as well as mining equipment, irrigation machinery, and even cemetery planters made of metal have all gone missing in and around Thessaloniki, the country's second largest city, amid concerns that previous law-abiding Greeks are turning to crime in growing numbers. In northern Greece, rogue merchants have an additional advantage, an 800-mile border with 4 countries that make it easier for them to dodge stepped-up police checks on local scrapyards. Police near the frontier with Turkey last month arrested 18 and 19-year-old suspects accused for stripping nearly 1,000 feet of cable from streetlights, blacking out a stretch of newly built road that runs across northern Greece. Recent inspections also turned up more stolen cable on a passenger bus headed to Albania, along with a cache of candle holders snatched from graveyards and loaded onto small trucks that were stopped and searched at the Greek-Bulgarian border. So there's Greece's decline into poverty. It's only going to continue, as we'll see. The government is pursuing the socialist, bankster, bailout, collectivist model. Now let's take a look at a story that hit as well from China. China gets its rail network up to speed. Not only does China's new high-speed rail system work, it is proving to be financially viable too. Picture yourself getting into a gleaming bullet train in Beijing and then pitching up at Dublin's Connolly Station several days later, having traversed Central Asia and the European mainland by high-speed rail. This is a real possibility by 2025 if China's ambitions to build an iron Silk Road using its high-speed rail technology. Closer to home, imagine being able to travel by train from Cork to Dublin in just 40 minutes. On a much larger scale, the equivalent journey across the north-south divide in China is Beijing to Guangzhou, a 2,298-kilometer journey that used to take 22 hours, but now just takes 8 hours since the opening in December of the high-speed line between the capital and the southern commercial hub. in terms of showcasing China's technological innovations and showing how it has become so much more than just a low-cost manufacturer. The high-speed rail project is up there with the space program and the Beijing Olympics. Wang Hui, Deputy Dean of the School of Economics and Management at Shijiazhuang Taidao University in Hebei, outlined the opportunities the new route will bring. The Beijing-Guangzhou high-speed railway connects the economic region around Beijing with the Pearl River Delta. Considering the population and levels of development of the two economic zones, they are undoubtedly important engines for China's economy. Therefore, improving the transport system will definitely increase exchanges between the two in terms of investment, talent, and information, he said. Another showcase route is the Beijing to Shanghai route, which covers 1,300 kilometers and runs 90 pairs of trains daily, with the trip taking 4 hours and 48 minutes. China started its high-speed rail network program in 2007, but already it is the biggest in the world, with 9,000 kilometers of high-speed railways. The web of bullet train lines will reach 18,000 kilometers by 2015. Sheng Guangzhou Minister of Railways told a recent rail conference that means more than 8,000 kilometers of newly built stock will be put into service within 3 years. The plan is to expand this 50,000 kilometers by 2020, with 4 main lines running north and south and another 4 east and west. The high-speed train pulls into vast customized stations with terrific facilities. At times it makes Irish and British rail networks look as modern as Thomas the Tank Engine. This is still a developing country. We'll see if that's the case. And there are complaints that prices are too high. The top price for a ticket from Beijing to Guangzhou is more than 2,000 yuan, 235 pounds, which is euros, which is about the same price as a flight. It is the emerging middle class and wealthy who take the train, even though the Guangzhou to Beijing journey takes 8 hours versus 3 hours flying. Many travelers like the fact that there are fewer interruptions, the view is pretty, you can walk around at leisure, and it's easier to work. Even internet access seems a bit patchy, and not all the seats had power points. Investment in the high-speed rail network was a big part of China's infrastructure spending program in 2008-2009 when Beijing pushed out a 4 trillion yuan, $490 billion stimulus to fight the financial crisis. So you'll note here that China built infrastructure rather than giving money to bankrupt banks. The rail ministry plans to invest 650 billion yuan or 76 billion euros in railway infrastructure, aiming to have 5,200 kilometers of new railways opened this year. Record speed during the development of the project. A train on the Beijing-Shanghai route hit a record speed of 486 kilometers per hour during a test run, which the Xinhua news agency said was the fastest speed recorded by an unmodified conventional commercial train. There are real-time savings with high-speed train. The train journey from Shanghai to Beijing used to take 10 hours, but by bullet train, our crossing through eastern China takes just 4 hours and 48 minutes. Once difficult to reach cities with giant populations are suddenly become accessible, and the economic impact will be immense. It takes in major cities like Xinjiang, Wuhan, and Changsha, and is expected to bring economic revival there too, including the usual direct economic benefits such as time savings for travelers, cost savings for operators, and reductions in aspects like air pollution, noise, and accidents. The World Bank has urged China to look to the wider economic benefits of the system. And it goes on. It's a fascinating article, and it's just amazing what China is doing. Now, I know you're not going to believe me, the shills and the bashers and the trolls who are constantly bashing China. They really, you can't counter them, because what they say is that everything that's coming out of China is lies. So let's go to trading economics and look at the statistics. We're going to look at the statistics, and then we're going to look at the real picture on the ground. But first, we want to look at the economic statistics. So let's look at Greece. First of all, you can see we've got a negative 6.9% growth rate. If you look at the GDP per capita, you're going to see it's going to be much higher than China, but of course that's just a lie. The unemployment rate is an unbelievable 27% of the population is unemployed. Of course, the inflation rate is nothing because, as you see here, the interest rate is nothing because Greece is doing the same thing the United States is doing, which is suppressing interest rates, collapsing their economy, and going into third world poverty. So let's go over and look at the economic indicators from China. You can see that the GDP annual growth rate is 7.9%. So many of those who have predicted for years that China would collapse, of course, have been wrong year and year and year again. And they'll be wrong for many, many years in the future. As Jimmy Rogers has said, this is the century of China. And you'll see that when we look at the video. The unemployment rate is 4%. Now, I believe it's probably a lot lower than that. I've looked at some other countries, including Thailand, which has an unemployment rate of 1/2% You can see the inflation rate is fairly tame. The interest rate is 6%, so you have a real economy. They're actually paying you an interest rate on your investment. So, but again, it doesn't matter how much I go over these numbers to show how the collectivist West is collapsing and the formerly socialist collectivist East is rising as they have learned to throw off collectivist direction and rely more on the free market. So what we want to do is look at a real on-the-ground indicator to show you in real terms what is happening. So let's start off with the Greek railway. I've captured both of these. You can go and look for yourself. These are real images of what's really going on. So this is Greece. So you want to note we've got people hanging out of windows. We've got some kind of weird air conditioners, and don't miss the graffiti. Now you can pick any number of videos of Greek rails, but that one is typical. But let's go over to the fantastic new CRH 3C. This is the new one. This is the one covered in the article. This is the new China Railway, and let's just watch and you decide.
居微光吧，唔係應居微收啊，你要上收咯。記得係有見嗰啲即係屋嘅。
Note the electronic screen. You'll see arrival times on other screens.
You carry there with you, all your clothes.
Note the visual, they're currently going 300 kilometers per hour. And you don't see anything shaking. So now you've seen it with your own eyes, the incredible prosperity of China versus the incredible poverty of Greece. It's a choice you have to make which direction you want to pursue. China is a nation that does not believe in welfare, does not believe in collectivism. There's no one to take care of you. You have to take care of yourself. They believe in hard work. they believe in success, and they're rewarding these types of efforts. They also are not a country controlled by Western banksters and politicians who are interested in taking the money, stealing it, and lining their own pockets with it. So I think that pretty much says it all. These indicators are true. Greece is heading towards status as a third world nation. China is actually, in my opinion, heading towards the status of the first fourth world nation, as you begin to see this rail infrastructure built all throughout China, and eventually the Silk Road is going to be replaced with high-speed rail, and then China will emerge as the world superpower. And we'll talk to you next time.